the people who point out your mistakes, if their rap sheet ever dropped, and for some of them, you even know them personally, and be like, oh, so that one points. Like, really? Because, man, there's positives and negatives in every human being. You get what you focus on.
Goals start with dreams, big or small. That cherished aspiration, ambition, or ideal. We all have them. The strong desire to know what more we can become in one lifetime is what pushes us to start, to grow, to reinvent ourselves. And while at it, there's mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual wins, sometimes losses, that challenge our journeys to being what we dream of. Wazo Dazo presents Being.
The opponent in my life has been my narrow view of myself. Even when I say what I say, my raps, sometimes when I stop, I'm like, I don't deserve that. Like, that has been the opponent, like myself, limiting myself. Because I can't even blame it on people out there and all their voices, So I have a constant battle of telling myself, no, you are bigger than everything. Alone, on your own, you can cripple entities. On your own, you are big. You are bigger than the entire continent. You are bigger than the world itself. You are big. Every move you make affects things visible and invisible. I have to tell myself that constantly because it's so easy to be like, I'm just Ruyonga. I don't even know why all this is happening. So that's my biggest opponent, small-minded version of me. What I've had to consistently overcome is the fact that I'm worth it. Like, telling myself I'm worth, actually, I've had to overcome the voice that sounds like me and tells me, you don't deserve any of this. Someone else would have done a better job with what you have. Because it doesn't matter. Whoever gave me what they gave me, they saw my future and they saw every failure or every fault I had and they still gave it to me. So I'm worth it. That's what I struggle. Like, mistakes. The people who point out your mistakes, if their rap sheet ever dropped, and for some of them, you even know them personally, and be like, oh, so that one points. Like, really? Because, man, there's positives and negatives in every human being. You get what you focus on. There's so many people in just this city alone who everybody talks about. They don't agree with this about that person, but they can't say it and they can't say it to their face because that person is popular, they are successful, and they are responsible for people and they meet all their responsibilities. And a lot of the people who point fingers, 88% of them don't do that. So that's what I struggle. That's what I definitely have had to overcome, telling myself, you're worth it. Because you will never have physical worth if you don't find yourself worthy. And I am worthy. I'm very deserving. I deserve even more than people think I deserve. I want to get it. I'm here to collect. A few years ago, we were celebrating Prophet Elvis Mbonyi, right? And guys were switching out in songs. God with Prophet in Christian songs. And people were losing their mind, right? And at the time, there was a lot of antagonism between the remnants and everyone else outside. And it can't fall on either one. Because, guys were really entering that place where they were overly celebrating the man of God. And when I say overly, not even in a bad way. Because you're supposed to celebrate those who God gives you to celebrate. But guys were really making a culture of it, right? And we're in Uganda. Now, if someone had done that, anyone that does that for the Kabaka, It's cool. You guys kneel before the Virgin Mary. It's cool. What guys were doing for Prophet Mwesigwa was seen as over the top. But I think it was being made to look maybe almost ungodly in a sense. And yet there's scripture to celebration is celebration, and there's no level to which. And people are trying to say that, no, you're elevating him above God. And so there was a lot of tension, around that time. And for me personally, I didn't really come out as a remnant. And I was having a personal tension of my own, because this man had done so much for me and my faith, but I felt like I was happy to hide. So now for me personally, I was like, if God has put this person in my life, I want to find a way to blatantly announce that I follow this man. Now, I might have gone a bit, because me, I'm good at English. I can say something that I'm not saying, and it can infer something. I'm good at English, so I can say, I see no difference between Prophet Elvis Mbonye and Christ, because when you get born again, the Spirit of Christ dwells in you. I didn't put that part. I just stopped, because I didn't feel I owed an explanation for that. I was really careless. And also, I think at the time, I hadn't really put out music in a while, so I'd forgotten my level of the people I affect, and the people who have come to Christ through me, and the people who really listen, my level of authority, I guess. I was really careless about that, because, man, what happened next was crazy. I was in every radio, I was on every TV, I was, and also I think some people are using that opportunity really to try to destroy me. And I didn't know that people, the thing is, I thought I was so nice to everyone that I had friends with. It hadn't really sunk in that when you're at a certain level of excellence, people hate you just because. One of the main reasons they hate you is because you remind them of what they are not, no matter how much you try to be nice to them. So that all started happening. Now for me, instead of apologizing, I doubled up. I said he's about God in manifestation and what in what. I said a lot. I said it's Jesus in this. Because we are the physical representation of our beliefs, right? That's how faith works. If I step out of the boat and I walk on water, it's not really me. You get? There's literally a verse for that. Yeah. Christ living in you, Christ in you, the hope of glory. But I think I was also mad that a lot of non-Christians and people who I knew didn't have anyone, they were suddenly taking offense to what I had said, they knew what they were talking about. So I was fighting the wrong battles, or I was starting the wrong fires. So I doubled up. I didn't lie. I didn't say that he was God. I didn't. I just didn't explain that God in him the same way God would be in any Christian. And that will be more present dependent on how deep your relationship is with God, no matter who you are. Now that second one, he sent a message, told me, take that down and send out a public apology. So I did. And now people, I think, started thinking he did that for hype. Now that was one of the darkest places I'd ever been in, because now I was like, I have now agitated all the people on this side. And now I think even Prophet is what? It was definitely one of those points where I first left music alone. That's where a few months down the line, all my people came and said, no. We know what happened. And the time when I did it, I just put out a whole album, which made things worse, because that album talked a lot about the remnant revolution. So it just made it look like now it compounded. It just compounded what I was trying to say. And these things are growing. Even me, I'm growing but it's a growing thing. But it made me, I was doing a lot of praying. I was praying a lot. Guys were like, that's not an excuse. You're literally trying to hide behind God in prayer when the God in you does hip hop. That is how God comes out through you in the world. Because when you do it, if someone tried to do the exact same thing you do, they don't get the same effects. No matter how you do it, that's God in you. So you're not doing God any favors by saying, now I'm going in prayer and what? Not that you shouldn't do those things. But man, for me when I step on a stage, it's God level. It's always been that way. So that was definitely one of those statements I can't say. I regret how I handled it, because those people are a responsibility, you know. You shouldn't stumble your brothers or sisters in the faith. Man, it changed my life, man. It changed my life in a good way. It created the guy people see now. The guy who really I'm not, like, you can't, how are you going to move me? Like, where are we, like, how are you going to move me? Number one, I said the craziest thing you could possibly say. So I got all the attacks you could possibly get. There was some other stuff that afterwards they tried to accuse me of. And really, guys were getting paid for that, and I don't want to get into it, because even those people suffered. But on the flip side, I'm still here. I definitely acknowledge the pressure that comes with writing music. Because me personally, I never want to settle for a worse product than the one I've already done. It has to be better. In whatever way, shape, or form. And I experienced something a few years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, that I had never really experienced. It was around the time when I'd stopped. I couldn't write. I couldn't. Now that, for me, I was like, is this it? Is it time to farm, buy land? Is it? Like, I couldn't come up with anything. One of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had to do with music recently was when I decided to do Sala. I was walking around trying to figure out lines. I couldn't. The writing thing was really bugging me, and it just came like, God must have made you on the 8th day. Your proof that he rested on the 7th to make something so precious he had to first take a break. I don't even know how he let you out of heaven. I felt myself that day. I was like, okay, I'm bad. At least those 4 lines were, I was like, yeah, the pressure is internal because I'm my first biggest critic. By the time we get to the fans, I don't know how to feel bad about what they say because I've already given them, I gave you my best. I already beat me up to get you what you want. So for me, that pressure has always been internal. I've always been the biggest person to take myself to task. Yeah, I'd say it's internal for me. So I appreciate my music a lot more in those places because in the midst of that pressure, somehow God always comes through. Somehow I'm always the baddest. It's just always like that. So I got to a point where I was like, I am not doing myself any favors. Whoever has an issue with me doing what I do, I'm more than happy for them to come to me and ask me why I do what I do, but I don't owe them an explanation.
Wazo Dazo presents